Is it truly the end of the road for US MBAs? Hey guys, my name is Ratik Datta and welcome to my channel Ratty Expounds, where I expound on my personal, academic and professional experiences. In case you're new here, I just want to give you a brief overview of my background. I did my master's in marketing from Purdue University when I graduated from in the year 2024, Purdue University being in the US. I'm currently working as a project associate at ET Edge, which is an initiative of the Times Group, which is Asia's largest media giant. That's just a brief overview of who I am and what I do. I wouldn't want to bore you with a huge background of my profile. What I am going to be focusing on is what you guys clicked on for this video, which is the pertinent question on hand at this point of time. Is the US MBA dying? Is it the end of the road for the US MBAs? These are questions, these are burning questions in the minds of so many students who are either already pursuing an MBA in the US, and I'm here to talk about, expound on what my 2 cents are with respect to this matter. Now again, you can take this with a grain of salt because at the end of the day, I'm no expert. This is just I'm talking on the basis of my experience, on the basis of the experience that I have derived from talking to others who have been on this journey. Again, disclaimer, I did a master's in marketing, which is different from an MBA. An MBA is more of a generalist degree where you specialize in the second year, whereas a master's is a degree where you specialize in your field of study right at the very beginning. Having said that, I do have a decent amount of knowledge when it comes to MBAs as well, because I did consider doing an MBA from the US at one point of time as well. So without further ado, let's begin. Before we delve into what I personally think about a US MBA, let's talk about why this question has even arisen in the first place. Now, there's been a recent report by the Wall Street Journal which said that 23% of Harvard MBA grads have remained unemployed in 3 months after graduation. Now, this is highly concerning given the fact that, well, I don't think you need me to tell you this, but this is Harvard we're talking about, arguably the best university in the world, best university of all time. In fact, Harvard University was the university which came up with the concept of an MBA, and the case study method used at Harvard is being used by business schools all over the world. They truly are at the forefront when it comes to education in general, and especially now since we're talking about MBAs, yes, you can't really go wrong with Harvard. So that really has raised a lot of eyebrows. What the scary thing is that these stats are not just limited to Harvard. We have seen similar trends in other top B schools such as Stanford and Wharton as well, which is sending shivers down the spine of almost any student or any individual who is looking to pursue or is pursuing an MBA at this point of time in the US, simply because if you've done fair research on the US MBAs, you would know that these three universities, Harvard, Wharton and Stanford, are the holy trinity when it comes to a US MBA. These are the top three universities, the universities that are usually at the top of everyone's list. Now that I've laid the foundation for what I'm going to talk about, let's get right into it. I think it's crucial for me to talk about my personal experience. When I went to the US, when I did my master's in marketing from the US, I decided to come back to India for my personal reasons. I made an entire video about why I came back. You can check that on the top right hand side of the screen here. In fact, there will be a lot of videos coming on the top right hand side of your screen which talks about my experience in the US, which I would highly recommend you to check out, simply because all of these videos are interwoven and interconnected at the end of the day. I feel why it becomes imperative to talk about employment after an MBA is because an MBA, as we've spoken about multiple times on this channel, is a heavy investment of time, money and resources, and a lot of students who do an MBA rightly want to get an ROI on that investment. And how do you get that ROI? The best way to get an ROI is to be working in the US for whatever time period your student visa or allows you, and if you're lucky you get that H-1B visa as well. But the fact that Harvard grads are not getting jobs is highly concerning, because if they do end up going back to their home country, especially if they go back to a South Asian country like me, I've spoken about this earlier as well, South Asian countries, based on my experience, based on the experiences of others that I have spoken to, do not really consider even top postgraduate programs on par with the top Indian MBAs, which means that while they do highly value your experience, it's not going to be reflective in your CTC, which is highly concerning, because at the end of the day you want to repay your loan, right? You want to repay your education loan. So keeping that in mind, I completely understand the apprehensions of students when they read these kind of statistics. I have a slightly different take on this, simply because, again, now before I talk about what my take is, I do acknowledge that I am very privileged in the sense that I do not have to worry about finances, hence I can freely talk about what I'm going to say, and I do understand that not everyone is as privileged as I am. So of course this might be catering to very niche group of students who do an MBA. In case it doesn't pertain to you, please feel free to skip this section. But for someone like me who did not have to worry about the finances involved in foreign education and a US education, I do believe that the journey is, as cliched as this may sound, it truly is it rings very true to my US experience, where I say that the journey is more important than the destination. The destination being the degree. I think the journey itself, being surrounded by some of the brightest minds in the world, some of the best professors in the world at Purdue, those experiences were truly life-changing for me, and I do not mean this as an exaggeration. I mean every single word of it. I think it was hands down the most important year of my life when it comes to development in the academic, professional, and even personal sense. So I do think that not getting a job would not deter me from wanting to do an MBA in the future. But again, like I said, not everyone has that sort of privilege, and I kind of understand that. So I'm going to be talking about whether the US MBA is losing its shine even from your perspective, because at the end of the day, we all are concerned about repaying our student debts, which is obviously very understandable. So for those of you who are concerned about ROI, is it really worth going to the US to do an MBA? Now, there are a plethora of reasons as to why the US MBA might be losing its shine, some of which I can make an entire video expounding on that, but just to give you a brief overview, some of the reasons are that companies are now preferring specialists over generalists. There has been a gradual shift in terms of employment, where employers like McKinsey and BCG, Bain, MBB are looking for, and other top employers who usually hire from B schools are looking for people with the right skill set rather than just a degree, which is what leads to a lot of people thinking that the MBA is dying. Now, this is just my 2 cents, but I just have to respectfully disagree, because I do think that the MBA is so much more than just a degree. It opens up a lot of doors for you which might not otherwise be open. And yes, it is very important to be pragmatic in your MBA experience. Unlike before, where getting a top MBA from Harvard would be enough to get you into any company that you wanted, things are a little different now. In addition to getting that top MBA, you do have to develop the right kind of skill set, especially in fields like data analytics, given that there has been an exponential rise in the use of AI over the past few years. And there is going to be in the next few years as well. It seems that we are moving in the direction of AI. So developing these skill sets alongside the degree is critical for you to get employed, for you to be employable by these companies. That kind of is a roadmap that I would put out for you. Notwithstanding the skill set, let's actually talk about the figures. So now, as of 2024, 23% of MBA grads did not find a job after graduating from an Harvard MBA, as compared to 20% in 2023 and a 10% in 2022. So now you see, from 2022 to 2023, there has been an exponential rise, and then there has been a considerable rise after that as well. This kind of does make you wonder why companies like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain have suddenly stopped hiring from these top B schools. Like, from my understanding, of course I could be wrong because I haven't worked at these organizations, I don't think these organizations wake up one day and they just decided, oh, we're not going to hire from top B schools anymore. This is not an overnight decision. This is a slow burning decision. So for it to jump from 10% to 20% and to be aligning the exponential rise on just the fact that students do not have skill sets and that MBA is dying is a little unfair in my opinion. I feel like that is a denigration of the MBA degree, just a personal opinion again. What I do personally think is that there are other factors here which are at play as well. The fact that the economy has not been doing very well in the past 2-3 years. Of course, we had the COVID pandemic, and there was a lot of, in order to revive the economy, there were a lot of efforts to increase spending, which eventually led to an increase in inflation. Of course, what's happening in Ukraine also exacerbated the condition, as a result of which there was really high inflation, high prices, for which the Fed actually had to increase interest rates, which in turn made companies hesitant to hire in the first place. So we cannot be treating the 10 to 20% in isolation with the MBA losing its sheen. I think all of these things have to be considered in the first place. All of these things have to be considered as well. So all in all, if I have to make a final verdict, I personally think that the jury is still out when it comes to whether an MBA is dying or not. I personally think that it's not. But the concept of an MBA has evolved in the sense that just an MBA is not going to suffice for you to get your dream job. It still is going to be, in my opinion, the biggest feather in your cap getting an MBA from a top B school like Harvard or Stanford, but you can't solely rely on your degree to be getting jobs anymore. So the sagacious thing to do would be working on your own skill sets in addition to networking and attending classes at MBA, building up your profile. They need holistic people. An MBA already creates a holistic environment for you, but the one thing that is perhaps a gap at this point of time is the technical skill sets, which I do think that universities like Harvard are going to address in the next few years. Do you really think that universities like Harvard are not taking note of all these things? I'm pretty sure that the gaps that are currently in their education system will eventually be filled, and the MBA will be just as lucrative as it once was. And I would say that this time period, this time frame is just it's just a hiccup, a few bumpy roads on the path to your destination. There is a lot of scope for an MBA. To truly make a verdict that the MBA is on its way to death would be to wait another 3-4 years, wait out this economic downturn that we are currently facing, the economic uncertainty that we are facing at this point of time, wait out the next 4-5 years, and if this trend continues for the next 4-5 years, then perhaps a judgment can be made about whether a US MBA is truly worth it or not. For us to be making that verdict as of now, as of today, as of the next 1 or 2 years would be I think it would be an unfair decision. It would be an unfair verdict. It would be a very hasty call to make at this point of time. I would say that give it a few years, but at the same time, if you ask me, right now is perhaps not the best time to be doing an MBA from the US given the economic conditions that we are facing and the kind of statistics that we are showing. But eventually, once things get better, because like I've said on this channel, what goes down also comes up, and once things go up, well, I do think that a US MBA is going to be worth its weight in gold. But let's wait and watch. I could be completely wrong. So again, like I said, you can take this with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Feel free to reach out to me on my LinkedIn or my Instagram and we can discuss this in more detail. I would love to know your thoughts. Also leave your thoughts in the comment section below and leave me one of these because it really helps with the algorithm, guys. And in case you're new here, please do subscribe. I talk about my personal, academic and professional experiences. If you like the content, please do subscribe and promulgate it to all your family, friends, close ones, anyone and everyone in your circle, so that we can grow together and we can have a great time like I have been over the past 1 year or so. So that's about it, guys. Again, if you want me to make a video on why these MBAs are losing value, I have given a small overview on why the MBAs have been losing their luster a bit. But if you want me to make a detailed video on that, I would love to do it. Let me know in the comment section. And yeah, that's about it. I shall see you very, very soon. Until next time, guys.